Hello and welcome to the Coffee Talkie Show. It's been a while since we recorded an episode, only the two of us. So we're really excited to do this here, especially because we have a topic today that if you're anything like us, it will resonate with you. And we're talking about how to keep our sanity when looking for an apartment in a different country, looking for a house, understanding how the processes works. What are we expected to do? What is the time frame? How do we even do that? And how do we not lose ourselves while doing it? And that's exactly what we're dealing with today. So we wanted to talk to you about that.
So let's begin. So, decided to move abroad, or maybe you already did, and right now you're in a situation a bit like us and you're looking for a new place to live, maybe an apartment, maybe a house, maybe a tent. It doesn't really matter. The thing is that when you're living in a new country and you don't really know how things work, this can be a real source of frustration. And we are going through this right now. We've been living in France for 2-3 years, and we have to move now to a different place. And as we don't really know how things work and we don't really understand everything, then it's kind of a difficult period. And it's easy to just lose yourself in this and lose your sanity sometime and be frustrated and even go through, statements that you regret after. So today I wanted to talk to you about those sources of frustration, no matter where you are, because it's the same in every different country, but also what can we do about it and how we can feel better while this looking for a place period of time.
Yeah, and I want to share with you something very personal because, as Mayan just mentioned, we are dealing with it right now. So true, we are not right now relocating to another country, but we've done it many times before, and I'm sure we're going to talk about it maybe in a minute. But it doesn't matter if you're right now planning your relocation, so you're moving to a country that you've never been before, or you've been before in the past and you're going now again. Or you're moving within the country. There are things that are out of our control. And we've been fortunate enough to have a great, temporary solution when we first arrived to France as Man said, a couple of years ago. We had a great option that didn't involve understanding how it works to find a place in France, right? But now, we have to deal with it. And to be honest, I had to deal with understanding how to find an apartment in Israel when I moved 15 years ago. I had to understand how to find an apartment in the UK and understand how this worked. I had to find how to find a student accommodation after I had to leave my apartment in London, and I cried there for months until I found my student accommodation. So there's a lot of things, and I think what you can read online, so many blogs and people sharing what do you must have if you're looking for a place in the UK, if you're looking for a place in Paris, if you're looking for a place in New York. These are those checklists of what you need as your folder with the information that you need to provide. How do you have to do this? Who can you talk to? What do you have to know? We want to talk to you about another aspect of this process of looking for a place to stay in. And that's what's going on inside. And I have to tell you, I haven't slept for 3 weeks.
Yeah,
honestly.
Absolutely.
I'm tired.
It's very stressful because we don't know. And so you haven't slept. I mentioned before that this stress and frustration really makes us, question our move, and that's totally natural and normal. And say things that we regret after, like, why did I have to do this to myself and to my family? I had a perfect house before and now I have nothing. And honestly, this came out of my mouth.
Honestly, I was that close to say, I'm leaving France. I'm done. Like, to give you, let's maybe give you a little bit more context of what we're dealing with right now, so you understand, right? You want to go?
Yeah. So in France, if you want to rent an apartment or a house, you need to have something called a dossier. Basically, it's
A folder,
a file, where you have to show that you have a steady income. And it's not enough that it's a steady income. You need to show a contract that you work that you have an
undated contract. So it's not like a specific period of time. You are supposed to stay for this company for an unlimited time.
And you have to have enough income that covers 3 times the rent.
And you need to have deposits, and you need to have people that vouch for you, that are signing contracts as well, saying like they trust you, they know they have enough income. If you cannot pay at some point, they will have to cover legally the rent.
And a lot of times you need to have all those documents from French companies. So if you're working for a foreign company and you don't have a French contract, then it's not valid.
Or if you're an entrepreneur like us that don't have contracts because it's our own company, then you don't have anything to put inside your business.
So it's true for all people that want to rent an apartment in France, for French people as well as foreigners. But when you come from a different country and you don't know all of this, and for example, you can show that you paid your taxes in France last year because you weren't here, then that can be really, really hard to find. And basically what you need is some kind of luck. Someone that will say, hey, I trust you as a person and I am willing to let go of some of the requirements, or a specific company that deal with foreigners and expats. And then basically you pay much more.
Yeah.
Because
we've seen those as well.
Yeah. And basically, honestly, personally, this is really frustrating to know that you have the income, that you can pay the rent, that you are responsible, that you're a good person, and still someone
and they don't even allow you to visit the place
because you don't have a French contract, for example, or you're an entrepreneur. And it doesn't matter if you're a very successful entrepreneur and you have a lot of money in your bank.
Then don't rent.
They don't want to speak to you. They don't even want to speak to you. And at first it was really frustrating, but then, so something that you need to understand, and we had to understand as well, is that it's not against you personally. There are laws here that work in favor of some renters, but it's not against you. It's not against all foreigners. It's not like French people are crazy. It's not that. This is how it works. This is a cultural thing. This is the law here in the country. These are the requirements. And if you want to rent a place here, then you must go through this.
Yeah. But it can cause a lot of frustration. And I want to give you another example because, of course, every single country is different. So I don't know where you're moving, but every place is different. And I can, just a tip of the iceberg, I can share with you that, for example, it took me a couple of visits, and a lot of them actually, I think about 10 visits back in Israel, until I understood that if I don't come willing to pay right now with like my checkbook, because this is how you pay rent in Israel, with a checkbook, yes, still. If you don't come with your 12 checks ahead, ready to give like the entire bulk to the owner as soon as you visit the place is never gonna be yours. And you need to visit it, like, if you see an ad in like the next hours, you need to be there and you need to sign the contract straight on the point. I lost so many places because I didn't know. I was like, oh, I'm going to go and visit. Maybe in 3 days. Do you have time in 3 days? And I was like, rented.
Rented already. And here it's completely opposite. I'm like, can I come and visit today? And she's like, no, can we do it next week? But in the evening maybe. And I'll get back to you maybe in 2 days. I'm like, what?
So, and in the UK, it was completely different. And I know from our clients, for example, that now in the UK, you have this whole idea of credit score that you need to prove. And I know that in New York it's crazy to rent.
And let's face it, there is a crisis, an international crisis right now. The economy is not at its best, and renting and buying houses is really, really hard right now. That's another topic, but it really impacts the market. So, and we need to understand it as well. You know, why is it so hard right now to rent? I went online and read about the renting market in France right now to see what is happening and to understand. And when I talk to realtors, I know what I'm talking about. And it didn't help me, but at least I know.
It does help in some way. And I think that's what we want to talk to you today, mainly. Is like, okay, so there are things you can control. You just can't. It's how the society works. It's the processes. As I said earlier, the more you'll know, the easier it will be for you to say, okay, so it's not against me. It's not they hate expats. It's not that they make it hard for me because I'm a foreigner. No, it's just they have certain laws. They have certain rules. They have certain processes. You might not agree with them. You might think, like we do, that it's completely crazy sometimes. That's fine. But you would not change the system right now. So what can you do? And I think one of the things you can do, and you just mentioned it, is know what's happening. So you don't get so frustrated as to why does it take them that long or not that long to respond? Why the market is complicated right now? What is the process?
What are the laws in the country that, you know?
Knowing can decrease some of the frustration, because I don't know if you've listened to us saying it before, but I'll say it again. Frustration only comes when there is a gap between what we expect and what reality is. So when we expect a certain thing to go a certain way, or we're used to it because of previous experiences, or that's what we thought it would be, and then the reality is completely different, this gap is where frustration is created, okay? So the more we know, the less the gap will be between what reality is and what we expect it to be. So it already makes our journey a little better. I don't say it takes away everything, a little better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there are other things that we can do as well in order to minimize the frustration. And, you know, we love Tony Robbins, and maybe you've heard us say it before. And there's something that he says a lot is, are you doing everything that you can in order to make it happen? And we see a lot of people here, you know, looking for apartments in Paris. I'm like, oh my God, I've done everything and I can't find an apartment. Have you done everything that you can and you didn't find your apartment? Sometimes yes, okay? But sometimes, and most of the times, in most cases, we haven't done everything we can to, and it's true for an apartment, it's true for everything else, to get what we want, okay? And it's on two levels, okay? Because first, there are actions that we can take in order to get what we want, in this case, an apartment, a house, a rent, buying, I don't know. So there are actions we can do. We can look online. We can ask people around us. We can contact realtors. We can contact other maybe companies that are specializing in this. We can
post on Facebook.
Post that we are looking, you know, be active and not only searching. We can create a profile, this file that is needed get all the documents
You
that we
can
need.
walk by neighborhoods that you would like to live in, go inside agencies, real estate agencies, and be like, hey, I'm looking. There's like a lot of active.
You can send emails, you can call people, you can physically come to meet someone, you can send text messages, you can do a lot of things. Okay? And true story, I found myself in this process asking myself more than once, have I done everything I can to get this apartment? Sometimes yes, and sometimes no. And then if my answer is no, then what can I do now? What can I do next? And I'll share with you 2 examples. So one, there's an apartment I visited and I really loved, and I sent them all the documents and more to show how serious I am. And I found 4 people to vouch for me and to say that I'm responsible and I can pay my rent, even though I'm an entrepreneur. But I found 4 people, and I called the agency more than once, sent emails, text messages. They didn't respond. And then I said, okay, have I done everything? No. I went online, I found another phone number in this specific agency, and then I called, and then they responded, and I'm like, yeah, and she was like, yeah, I got everything, and we are talking to the owners and see if they are interesting, and I'll let you know. And I'm like, okay, when will you let me know? Because I want to be active in this. And she's like, okay, by the end of the day, I'll give you an answer. And I asked her, is there anything I can do to put all the favors on my side? And she says, no, there's nothing you can do right now. They are very hesitant. They don't want anything else. I'm like, okay, so I'll wait. By the end of the day, she got back to me. I didn't answer my phone. I wasn't available, and she left a message that the owners don't want to rent us the apartment because our file is not good enough for them. And I said, okay. I called her. I'm like, I'm not taking no for an answer right now. I called her and I said, okay, is there anything I can do to change the situation? And she said, no, listen, there are old people, very old style, and they got burnt before, and they don't want to take any risks, and there's nothing you can do here. And when she said it to me, I'm like, okay, now I've done everything I can, and the answer is no. Okay, I can move on. I can move on to the next thing. And I'm okay with it. Like, I really wanted this apartment, but I'm okay with it because I did everything I can. In another apartment that I really wanted as well, I said to myself, okay, what can I do to get the apartment? Because again, I was calling, nobody answers. It's a cultural thing, I guess. Not against me. I'm not taking it personally. And I said, okay, this was not with an agency. It was directly with the owner. The conversation with them directly with the owner. So I said, okay, I'm going to write her an email to show her how responsible we are as a family, and that we are sure we can pay the rent, and that we know that we don't have the perfect dossier, but we're good people and kind people. Are like, okay, how will I write this kind of email in French? How? So I opened ChatGPT and I told ChatGPT to write me a letter, including some of the points that I wanted to say that were important to me to say. And I asked him to use NLP in this email. And we did some back and forth, and he wrote me a great email. And I'm like, great, translate it to French now. And I translated to French a couple of times to make sure it's the right way to say things. And then I sent the email, And you know what? I don't know if it's the email or not, but she replied to me and she said, okay, I'm going to need some more documents. Please provide me some more documents. And we did. And honestly, I did some meditation, deep meditation and visualization and manifesting and everything I can and I know from my toolbox, because I really wanted this apartment. And we got it. So when I ask myself, have I done everything that I can to get what I want? Yes. The answer is yes. And I'll do everything until the answer is yes. Okay? So this is one part of being active and do everything that you can in order to get what you want. And it's not about being pushy or being rude or just taking actions and being responsible for the results that you want. So that's one part.
And I think what's important in what you just mentioned is that being active doesn't mean only about the other person, okay? Only doing something with regard to them. Sometimes being active is about you.
Exactly.
Like when you've done meditations to visualize things and to manifest the house that you want and how you are moving in and all of that. These are things that are, believe it or not, it's yours. We have sometimes discussion about that. It's about you.
Yep.
It's not about...
That's what I meant by this. That's the second part. The one part is doing everything that you can outside regarding the person in front of you. And the other side, and I think that's even more important, is what are you doing for yourself to keep your own sanity, your own state of mind, and to keep functioning despite the stress, the frustration, the waiting sometimes, and sometimes not understanding how things work.
Yeah. And I will add to this. So you talked about specific houses that you applied for. I can tell you that for now, I haven't visited any house because all the houses that I applied for, honestly, I'm dealing with a lot of scams. I don't know if it's like something that is more because it's a small house. Might be careful out there. There's a lot of scams with regard to real estate. There's a lot of scams about everything, but I found a lot of those. So I haven't visited any house. So I'm not in this phase. But when I'm thinking of what are the things I can do and am I doing everything I can? So yes, the normal stuff is finding out how am I gonna, like, what kind of folders can I find and with the help of who from the family, and how do I make it happen? Because again, we're entrepreneurs, so it's harder in friends. I look for
it's harder everywhere.
Yeah, it's actually, and I look for different places online, and I look for agencies, and I look on Facebook, and I do all those active stuff. But on the inner side, I do a lot of stuff to calm my nervous system down. Because as I said earlier, I haven't slept for a couple of weeks now, not properly. I said to Mayan yesterday, I feel like I'm a dolphin. Always like half brain sleep, half brain is like doing something else. Thinking, managing.
If this is you being a dolphin right now, then I really understand what you're going through.
I honestly believe that, like, I don't know if I was a dolphin in another air, but this is how I work. Like, I always sleep half when I'm in those time of my life periods that are super stressful. I think so much that I cannot rest. So I do a lot of work and a lot of self-help to make me feel better. Because let's face it, who are you when you're approaching a place? When I will go and visit a place, if I'll come from an energy of stress and anxiety and I need this place, then it's not gonna help. In most cases, true, it did help me in the past. Like for the student accommodation, crying all day long did help me at some point. But
when you want to show someone that you're responsible and
that they can is not the good option probably. So I do a lot of work to calm myself down, to remind myself that things are happening in the right timing for me and that everything is possible. And I've been proving it to myself in different areas of my life. And I'm taking gummies to reduce stress, and I am drinking more water to take care of myself, as simple as that, so I don't get completely crazy. And I take time to journal, to write down what stresses me so much. What do I want? What am I looking for in a house? Is it, and for example, I'll tell you that one of the things that I said to myself to make it easier is right now, I said to myself, you know what? Let's look at it as a smaller time frame project. Let's look for a house for a year. So what are the things that you look for if it's only a house for a year? Maybe in a year you'll move again, and then you'll be in another situation that you will be able to rent something different. So I journaled this, and I was like, okay, so if this is it, then it's actually easier. The houses that I'm looking for are different. So those are the things that we're telling you. What are you doing for yourself so you don't lose yourself in the process of looking for a place? And I even know how hard it is to look for a place when you are not yet living in the country, when you are sending maybe someone else to visit, when you're only doing virtual visits, when you...
Sometimes it's not even possible. Sometimes when you're not in place, like you're planning to move in a month and you can't rent an apartment in some countries, it's not possible to do it from afar. And you have to, stay in an Airbnb for a month and then look, and you're stressed because there's a time frame where you need an apartment. It's like, and in France, if you don't have an apartment, then you can't open a bank account. If you don't have a bank account, then you can't have an apartment, and you can't. That's super hard sometimes, and it's so stressful. And you have to do everything that you can. And I really mean everything that you can in order to keep your sanity and to keep yourself from not just losing it, crying all the time, not sleeping, not eating, shouting about everything. That's not helpful to anyone. If you're alone, that's not helpful to you. If you're with a family, it's not helpful. Okay? So this is not the way you want to be when you're looking for a place. It's not the way you want to be when you're moving and arriving to a new place. And you want to settle, and you want to have fun, and you want to enjoy this new place, and you want to feel home, and you want to create a feeling that, oh my God, I created a new life. I made the right choice. I made the right decision to be here. And when your whole nervous system is burned out because you're so stressed, so frustrated, you don't understand everything, you haven't slept, you haven't drank enough water, and you can't do it. You just, biologically, you can't.
And I want to add something, and it's a tip that I'm doing and using in different areas of my life, okay? But it's really important also when looking for a house, for example. Always put yourself in someone else's shoes. Who are you when you're sending this email? Who are you when you're applying for this form online? Who are you when you visit a place? Who are you when you pick up the phone? What would you have wanted to see, hear, read on the other side if it was your property? Knowing the rules of the country, okay? This is the basic we talked about earlier. Know how things are working. But if you know how things are working and you're the owner of the property, what would you want to hear? What would you want to see? What would you want to feel from the person who comes to you? Be that.
And you can even ask. This is what I did when I sent this email. I asked, is there anything more I can provide you to make you feel more confident with us renting your apartment? And she said, yes. Can you give me this document? I said, of course. There you go.
Exactly.
And when you ask, that sometimes they know and they'll have an answer. Sometimes no, and then you know that there's nothing you can do. And that's okay, but ask.
You know, we heard
be different, you know.
We heard a great formula of how do you ask things, and I don't remember everything, but the important thing is like ask something very specific and always say why you're asking it, so the person know the context of your ask. And it's that simple. We are asking a lot of things all the time, and especially as expats, we need help. You can ask online, but be sure what you ask, because you will get different answers to different questions. So if you're very specific about what you ask, then you might get the answers that you really want. If you're asking a big, wide question, then you get a lot of responses that might not help you. But if you're very specific, you can ask. I can share with you that, for example, I reached out to a real estate agent that is specialized for the Israelis in Paris. And I said to him like, hey, I'm looking for a place up to this budget around these areas. If you hear anything, I would be more than interested to hear from you. And he responded almost immediately, be like, hey, I don't have anything within this budget right now. Keep on following my profile. If I have anything, it's posting there. Great. I asked a question. He responded and I have the answer. I know what to do next. I know not to bother him anymore until I see something that is relevant. So be very specific about what you ask, why you're asking it, and be attentive to how do you ask things and how do you present it. True, in some countries, falling apart, crying your eyes out will get you the house. Honestly, done it before. but in others, it's not working.
No, absolutely.
Honestly, I got 2 places like that. It did help, both in Israel and in the UK.
And you know, honestly, if you said try to be in someone else's shoes, if I'm an owner of a place and I see someone crying, falling apart, I'm like, I don't want this. I don't want this. Like, she's not stable. I don't want this. But again, you need to know and understand who's in front of you. And another tip that I can give you is, yes, your situation is different than most cases because you come from another country, you come from another culture, you're used to doing things differently, and it can be in your favor or not. That's your choice. You can use those differences and create conversation about something else, and maybe use this disadvantage in your favor. I know that I'm doing this. Yes, my French is a little broken sometimes, but I laugh about it, and then it creates, a lighter atmosphere around us, and it makes it easier. I know that I spoke to this owner, and she said to me, well, I got your email, but I didn't know if I can reply to you because it was really late at night. I'm like, hey, who cares? You can send me emails and messages at 3 a.m. if you want. My phone is down. I don't care, but send it. I told her, this is how I work. You can do it as well. That's totally fine. She said, oh, okay. Because she didn't know. Then use the fact that you are different. Use it as a tool. Those are your assets. And we talk a lot about bringing what you got and using it, okay? And it's everything. It's your broken language sometimes. It's the way sometimes you come to someone and you want to shake hands. And in some culture, it's not something that you do, but they're like, okay, so we're shaking hands. This is how it happens. Or not. Or sometimes you say too close to someone or not. Those are cultural differences that you need to understand and then use it in your favor. The fact that you're different and you're doing things differently. And sometimes it will work, sometimes not, but at least you tried. At least you know that you're not passive, waiting for things to happen, because nothing ever happens just like that.
Things happen, but that's
not
probably not what you want. Like, if things are happening just like that, then it's happening because it's just like that. It's not necessarily what you want. And before I finish, I want to say one last thing. focus on what is. What is about what you have. I just talked about use your own tools, use your differences, use your uniqueness. What is also a matter of what is available to you, what you can maybe have right now. Maybe the best option, of course, is to right now go and use like a short-term rent for 4 months, moving to a certain country, figure out how it is, and then you move to a more permanent location. Maybe you need a year like that. What is? Focus on that. Put all your energy there, because what's not working and what's broken and what's weird and what's crazy and what will only drive you crazier. And if you only focus your attention on why is it so different? Why is it so hard? Why is it not working? Well, that's all you gotta see. Why am I different? As man said, you can use it as like, ooh, it's harder for me because I'm different. Or maybe there's an opportunity in the fact that you're different. Maybe someone will love the fact that you're bringing something else. Maybe you will be able to show something else. So, sure, it might be harder at some point, but use it in your own favor for what you want. Focus on what is.
Absolutely.
And keep your sanity and drink water. It helps.
Yes, that's so true. And just sometimes you need a little bit of luck and just to
Some sparkles.
trust the process and understand that things take time and just things will happen when they need to happen for you, and there's a little bit of magic sometimes.
And if at any point you feel like this is a lot and you just don't know what to do with yourself, well, talk to us. We know what you're going through. We have been there before. We are currently dealing with it as well. Empathy is a big thing in this world. We need more of this. Be kind toward yourself and toward others, and reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you, and we'd love to be there for you while we go through all of this and remind you what's really important. So,
thank you so much for being here today. And if you're moving abroad and looking for an apartment, we really wish you all the best. And don't forget to do everything you can.
And by the way, do everything that you can means that if you loved what you shared with us, what we shared today, then like, comment, review on your favorite podcast platform. Do everything you can to support us, to keep on doing what we do here, because we love it.
Yes.
Have a great week.